Once you start in that local mindset and speaking to people locally, networking locally, setting up your businesses online, it's a big mix of online and offline stuff. You just want to connect those dots. So if you've done something offline, it's also connected online. So if you do an interview for a local newspaper and they write up the article, ask them to link back to your website. There's so many businesses out there that have got articles written about them in major newspapers that haven't got a link back to their site because they never thought about it.
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Web Marketing. I'm your host, Ilana Wexler, and today I am interviewing a friend of mine, actually, called Doron Milner. And like myself, Doron has a digital agency where he's a little bit different to mine, where he only services local businesses. So a local dentist, a local podiatrist or chiropractor, etc. You get the idea. So businesses that really have only want to service local communities. They have no desire to rank for terms or appear for ad terms nationally or internationally. And so therefore, a lot of the advanced strategies we talk about on our podcast and other podcasts that are spoken about don't apply to local businesses, which is why I've asked Doron to come on today's episode, because the local SEO strategies are really very different to if you're a business that's trying to expand nationally or internationally. So in today's episode, Doron has been very generous with his knowledge. He has shared 6, fundamental strategies that a local business should have in place if they want to rank for local terms. As I said, he's been very generous. You could apply these yourself. It does require a little bit of rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, or alternatively, you could, if you've got a staff member, you could hand them this to-do list and they could very easily implement these strategies. It's not rocket science, it's not that technical, but really it's a lot of this legwork that does need to be done if you want to rank for local terms. So we do cover some very practical applications. If you're on the go listening to this, don't worry about taking notes, because we've created a summary PDF that you can download really easily. So you can just print that out or for yourself or give it to the staff member, or alternatively, you could hire an agency as well. But if you didn't want to hire an agency, just print this out and we've got you covered on there with the summary PDF. How do you get this PDF? Just go to talkingwebmarketing.com. That will actually redirect you to our agency website, to the podcast section on our website, and you can find the episode there. So without further ado, let's get stuck in today's episode.
Thank you very much.
It's lovely to have you on, and I've asked you to come on today's show because you have some really practical and relevant knowledge, which I know a lot of our listeners could get a lot of value on, because you run an SEO agency and you also do AdWords as well, actually. So before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of really practical and relevant SEO strategies, I'm always interested in people's stories and backgrounds. Do you mind kind of touching on your background? I know you've done lots of different things, so I think our listeners can sort of learn about your journey and how you got into the SEO space.
Yeah, sure. Originally, I was in hospitality and owned a restaurant and studied marketing for hospitality for hotels and restaurants. After realizing that I need to be there at the physical location a lot of the time, I decided to get into digital. At the time, AdWords was quite new, and I wanted to work in an industry that was online and where they had their services online. So I managed to find a small agency in Sydney that was doing really big things with AdWords all over the world. They were working for companies like Kazaa and Mobile Sidewalk in the States, doing mobile marketing, and that was about 15 years ago. So they were really ahead of the game then.
I imagine AdWords back then would be very different to what it is now.
We were getting results on $5 a day for customers.
Wow.
Think of it like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's like
$5 a
10-cent
day.
clicks or something.
Yeah, exactly. We were getting 10-cent clicks, and we were getting things like download movies and download music. Well, we were getting results for like $1 a click back then. So
Wow.
yeah, we were really ahead of the game, and it was really interesting. And I learned a lot from those guys. One of them was the founders of Skype, and I managed to learn quite a lot about AdWords and SEO and just the digital landscape then.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working for really big companies worldwide, and I realized that there wasn't really any space for local guys or anyone really helping small businesses. We'd get a lot of small businesses come in, and we started just doing the same sort of stuff for all of them, almost like a cookie cutter approach, and we're charging them really small fees for the small businesses, like $50 a month to manage their campaigns back then. And I started to realize that kind of Google's going to go local. We realized that there was a real opportunity for local businesses to be serviced, and there wasn't anyone really helping them for a price that they could afford. So I teamed up with a friend that I'd met in the industry, and we decided to start a company, Local Web, which is the company that we run today, really servicing small local businesses that were targeting customers in their area. We didn't focus on any e-commerce. It was all service-based businesses, your chiropractors and osteopaths and local dentists and lawyers and tourist companies, anyone that serviced locals in their area, massage therapists, painters, electricians, all the trades, all of those guys, and gave them affordable SEO that worked. We helped them with conversion optimization and fixing up their websites. Back then they had horrible websites. So we either offered to redo their sites or found cheap alternatives to get their websites redeveloped and designed, helped them maximize their conversion rates when people did come to their sites, and they all started seeing results. And that's where the focus was. It was always local. And as Google became more and more local, we just kept pushing more local rankings and local results. And that's it. That's us.
That's awesome. And I think, you identified a real need in the market to, like I think many business owners can be always kind of think there's a grass is greener and you got to grow and you got to go big and service overseas customers. But I really like the fact that you stayed true to your core business of servicing local businesses, the local need, because there is such a huge need for that.
Yeah, and it just seems to be going more and more that way with Google and with local communities and local councils. Everyone's sort of starting to push that community feel again in their local communities and really starting to use more local businesses as well. And people are going back to that community feel now. So yeah, and it is really good for your suburb and your city to be buying and shopping and using local services.
Yeah. And, as someone who also has an agency and I talk to clients all the time, I can also appreciate the fact that the local dentist and the local chiropractor or osteopath really doesn't know a lot of the fundamental stuff that you and I is like bread and butter, right? So
Yeah.
I thought for this episode, maybe we could touch on a little bit of some of the really like basic and fundamental SEO strategies that a local business could use and apply for their own business if they wanted to kind of do a little bit of DIY or dabble a little bit on their own.
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of our customers want to do stuff on their own because they don't have the money to do everything, especially starting out. So we've really helped businesses do a lot of the stuff on their own. And then when things get a little bit more technical, they either come back to us or they use up more of our services, especially as they start to grow. So we've consulted with a lot of businesses to help them do the basics and lay the groundwork. It makes our job easier later down the track, and it also gives them a basic understanding of how this all works. So it's not just magic or smoke and mirrors to them also.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know a little bit about SEO. I'm certainly no expert. I know enough to be dangerous, I tell people. So this will be really helpful for me. So what would you say are the basics and the fundamentals that business owners could do? So what's the first one?
So probably the first one, and it's really an easy one, it just can be time consuming, is to list your business listing on Google or claim your business listing. So if you want to be targeting local SEO and local keywords, you want to be showing up in the local map pack, Google's map pack, which shows up in the Google's results with their map, and that's your business listing with Google. It's now called Google My Business. It used to be called Google Places and then Google Maps. It's now called Google My Business. And often you'll find that even if you haven't done anything, your business might already be listed, because Google wants to have as many businesses listed there as possible. So even though you might not have set up your listing, it might already be there. So it's worth doing a search in Google Maps for your business name and seeing if your listing's already there, and then claiming that listing.
So when you say claiming that listing, what does someone have to do that?
So you'd have to basically go into Google My Business.
So it's its own dedicated area in Google, like.
Yeah, so if you have a Google, you'd have to have a Google account. So that could be a Gmail account, or any one of the Google services will give you a Google account.
Yep.
And let's say, I'll do a search while we're here, that you're an electrician in Bondi, and you type in electrician in Bondi, and you go to the Maps pack, and you see that your listing is there. And you are, I won't give a name, but let's say someone, electrician professionals. You click on that listing, and it'll basically ask you if there'll be an option there, if it isn't claimed, to claim that listing.
Okay.
You can say claim the listing, and then it'll ask you all of the details, your details, and what they'll do to kind of verify that it's you is send you a postcard in the actual mail to your physical address that's listed for that listing, or give you a call to the mobile number. So maybe Google's picked this up from a directory listing somewhere. Maybe you've listed in the Yellow Pages or True Local previously. Google's created that listing, but you haven't set it up. And in that listing, we'll have a mobile number that you've maybe put into your Yellow Pages listing, or a physical address that you've entered into a directory somewhere else that Google's picked it up from. So to claim that listing, they're going to want to verify that you are you with either the number that's listed on the listing or the address. And that's how you get the listing, is that you say, this is me, this is my business. Google says, please verify it. We're going to call this number. That'll hopefully go through to you. Or we're going to send a postcard in the mail to this address with a verification code.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
Let's say your business just runs off a PO box.
Yep.
Can you still register your business with a PO box?
Not on Google Maps, no. So what you can do is you can hide your physical address and say that you are a service that goes out to other businesses. So let's say you're a painter. You don't really run from your business from your home, but you don't want all your customers knowing where you live. You can say, I'm a painter, this is my physical address, don't show my address to anyone, but I service people within a 30-kilometer radius of this address. Google will send a postcard to that address with your PIN. You'll verify it, and it might just say your suburb if you're happy with that. So it might just say you're in Bondi Beach or you're in Parramatta, for example, and that's what will show on the listing rather than your actual physical address. But PO boxes aren't really allowed because they're worried about people gaming the system.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then, many businesses run off a PO box, but then you'd have so many businesses registered to that one PO box. But that's really clever of Google, that you can actually hide your home address, but still register your business.
Yeah, that's right. And as I said, a lot of my customers are service-based businesses, and they don't want their home address there at all. So a lot of them are hidden, and that's not a problem with that.
Awesome. So from my understanding, the Google My Business is actually separate to the organic results, really, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. So Google My Business is an entirely different business listing. It sits within Google. You set up all of your details in there. It's a different listing to your website, although they do complement each other. So optimizing your local business listing is going to help the optimization of your website, and optimizing your website is going to help the optimization of your listing. And I'll go into details about that a bit later.
Cool. Alrighty. So that's point number one.
Yeah, so you list your business with Google, and if I can elaborate on that point a little bit further, if you don't mind, because that's quite a big one, because we are going to go through other tips about getting local business, but in terms of your maps optimization, it's really important that you do this right, because everything else that you're going to do from here is going to be affected by how well you set up your business with Google. So when you set up your Google My Business listing, you've got to make sure that it's done properly. And the most important thing with this is that your name of your business your address and your phone number is consistent with anything that's already out there on the web.
Okay.
So, for example, and we call that your NAP, your NAP, name, address, and phone. So Google's going to find discrepancies around the web, and the more discrepancies there are, the more that's going to harm your local listings. So you want them to all be the same. If you're starting this from scratch and it's a new business, it's quite easy. If it's an existing business that's been around for 10 years and you might be all over the place in terms of directories all over the web, like Yellow Pages and True Local and Hot Frog or industry directories, you want to start cleaning that up. So say, for example, we registered our business as Local Web Advertising, Pty Limited. We then changed that to Local Web. So that then affects what's happening with your Google listing. So you want the name that's in the most directories already to be what you use on your Google listing. Okay. So we use Local Web Advertising, Pty Limited, instead of Local Web. And the address should be the same and the phone number. So you put all of that into Google as it stands where it might be elsewhere on the web or on your website. And then you flesh out your Google My Business listing with photos. Lots of photos, external pictures of your building. If it's your house, don't worry. Internal images. If you're a service-based business, they can be images of properties that you've worked on. If you're a painter, if you're a massage therapist, just internal pictures of the premises. Pictures of your team, if you're a business with a team, of your boardroom, your logos, all of those things. You want to get as many internal pictures and external pictures that you can into your listing and really flesh out that listing. Google will have recommended categories. As you start typing, it'll recommend categories. If you can add 2 or 3 categories that are relevant to your business, that'd be great. Put your operating hours, enter your web address, enter your phone number, all of that into your business listing so that it's complete and that it's 100% fleshed out. That's the first port of call, is to make sure that your listing is really fleshed out and is correct. Your name, address, and phone number is the same.
Awesome. Can I just ask a question on that?
Yep.
Say you're a local business and you're on, level 5 of a building.
Yep.
I would imagine there are nuances with that where you might put level 5 after the address or LVL instead of LEVEL, etc.
Yeah.
You're referring to nuances like that?
Yeah, so the most that it's the same, the better. But at the very least, the street number, street address, postcode, all of that, if you've put in the state or you haven't put in the state. So are you in Bondi Beach 2026 Sydney, New South Wales, or are you just Sydney, Australia? So you want it to try and be the same as all the directory listings, which you're going to do next if you don't have. So most people, I would say, start with the Google listing, put in the address that you've registered with, say, the government or with a main directory.
Yep.
And then go on to the next step, or stage 2, which will be list in all your other local directories with the same details that you've now put into your Google Maps listing. So the advice is, if you're already listed in a directory, a big one like Yellow Pages or the White Pages or something, use those details for your Google Maps listing and fix those up. If you aren't, sort out your Google Maps listing and then start listing in all of these other directories.
And let's say some of the categories that you've entered in the Google My Business, can you change them later?
Yes, you can change anything in the Google My Business thing later.
Wedded to it.
Verified. No. So what's going to happen is, once you've verified your listing, Google's going to probably send you a little postcard in the mail, like old school, and that postcard's going to have a little pin, and you can go into the verification process later, log into your Google My Business listing later, verify that it's you with your pin, and then your listing will be live and you will be up on Google. And then that's when you start going in, or at the same time, listing in all of your local directories. And I would start with the big ones first and try and do as many as possible. And to kind of get organized with that, I would start to just be organized with how you're going to list. So basically make sure that your details are consistent, have a little summary of what your business does. So 2 or 3 business listing titles, a blurb, write this all down, your address, your email address, your best contact number, some of your social media links, a logo, like a 300 pixel logo that you can use, some related images that you've already used for your Google listing, maybe your business ABN if it's an Australian business, so that you've got all the details with you, because listing in directories is really time consuming. It takes a lot of time. You've got to go into each directory, set up an account, put in your business name, your address, your phone number, some pictures, your logo, all of those things. Then they're going to want to verify that it's you. I would recommend setting up an alternative email address, or using a separate one within your company. That's maybe a contact email address or an info email address that doesn't clog up your inbox, because then they're all going to email you back to verify the listing. Some might call you back. Some might try and upsell you to a premium. I would go after the big ones like Bing, Yelp, Yellow Pages, Yahoo Local, True Local. There's a bunch of directories. You can just Google Australian if you're in Australia, or American if you're in America, business directories. The big ones are Yellow Pages, True Local, Yelp, aussieweb.com.au, startlocal.com.au. Go into 10 or 15 of those and just flesh out a good listing. Not only will that help you, because people do use those directories in and of themselves, so that'll help, but Google will see these signals around the web and see that you're listed in these directories. And if you start to get reviews in those directories, that'll help you, and it'll all push your Google Maps listing up, which is ideally what you want at the end of the day, because that's what's going to get you your business in local search. If someone types in electrician Bondi, you want your company to show up when they're searching for that in the top 3 Mapback listing. And these directory listings are going to help you a lot. It's a big signal, SEO signal to Google, to start ranking you higher. So the takeaway for that is sort out all of your company details, make sure they're exactly the same as your Google My Business details, and start sitting down and setting up directories.
Awesome. Too easy.
So that's tip number 2. It is time consuming, but if you get all of your things in order first, then you can knock through it in a few hours.
But I would imagine it's something you only have to do once, and then you never have to do it again.
That's it. And as I said, once you're in there, they also are good for you. To be in the Yellow Pages or True Local is good for your business. And they really are a strong signal for your Google Maps listing.
Yellow Pages is paid though, isn't it?
Yellow Pages has a free listing and a paid, so they will try and upsell you to the paid listing. But a lot of these are free. If you want to have a paid listing, that's fine as well. I wouldn't put too much money into it. If they've changed or are only offering paid options, then just leave it, or make that decision as to whether or not it's worthwhile paying for it. Because as I said, some of these you'll get business from in and of themselves. So it might be worthwhile trialing it and asking your customers how they found you, and maybe they did find you through the Yellow Pages or True Local, then it's worthwhile. If you're finding that no one's finding you through that and you're paying a few $100s a month, then it's definitely not worthwhile. If it's maybe $100 a year, then you might want to keep it. Yeah.
Awesome tip, and I'm sure it's something that someone could give one of their admin staff or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Tip number 3?
So moving on, start to look at your social media. Social media, again, it's good on its own, but it'll also help your local rankings. And a strong social media presence is basically essential for any business wanting more exposure in a local setting. So you want to have your profile set up on sites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe even Instagram. It's a great way to engage with your customers already. I wouldn't put too much effort into it. People become obsessed with that because it's kind of still new and exciting. But just make sure that you have profiles set up in there. Someone's done it, fleshed it out. You've got information on there. And it's also social media profiles are also quite good for customer reviews. So managing that, if people are coming in and leaving you reviews, that's good. And they allow local customers to follow and share content. That's ideally what you want. So when you're writing a blog, or when you've got something new on your site, you want to share that on your social networks, and ideally you want people to be sharing that as well. So if you write some really good content on your website, you then share it to a social site. Maybe you put in $5 or $10 and boost that so that it goes out to people that aren't necessarily following you. And people click on that link and come back to your site, and people share those articles. That's going to help your normal SEO, and it's also going to help your local SEO, especially if the articles you're writing have to do with local events or local services or mention local places. So if the content on your site is local, has local addresses, then that's really good. It's gonna help your local listing. And what I would say with that as well is on your website, and this is maybe going into point 3 a little bit, you need to have your map and address on your website. So you should have a Google map showing where your business address is with a a written down address of where you are and a phone number so that Google can crawl that and see that on your website it's the same address that's on your Google Maps listing, which is the same as on your social media profile. Again, consistency is key with all of this.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to make a decision at the very beginning. What exact syntax and address and phone number are we going to use, and then just roll it out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's sometimes good to use a 1-300 or 1-800 number, so that if your numbers change, you can always divert that. Or you could even buy just a local number that's not necessarily your physical address that you can divert to, so that your number's always the same. We've changed offices, 3 or 4 times, but our number's always been the same, and it's never been too difficult to go in and change all of those addresses. It's a bit of a pain in the local listings. You can get a company like our company does a citation audit, where we audit and crawl the web and find out where all of your listings are, and then kind of give you a document saying, here's all of your listings. These are all the ones that have your current correct name, address, and phone number. These are all the ones you need to go in and clean up. So, if your business is 10, 15 years old, you've moved 3 or 4 times, it might be worth getting an audit done for a few $100s, seeing what there is to clean up and going in and fixing up those listings.
It sounds like it's definitely worth it. And that's an awesome tip about having that, generic phone number that you can then redirect when you move office. It's very clever.
Makes it really simple. Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
So quick question on the social media thing that you touched on. Just so I'm clear, I write a blog post on my website. I then go to social media and I put a link to that blog post on social media. Is that right?
Yep, that's great. And the better the content, the more chance there is of people sharing it, which is what you want. And if you can mention or have an address or some sort of local words in there, mention your city or your suburbs or things like that, that's going to help your local listings as well. But any blog post or any content that you have, you should try and share across multiple platforms as it is, because then you're getting more use out of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it. What are your, sorry, on this social media thing as well, last question on it.
Yeah, sure.
What are your thoughts on your website of putting links to your social media accounts?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't believe that a lot of people actually click on those links, but it's good to have them. It's another social signal on your website.
Some people say, you're sort of leaking your visitors that way, etc. So that's why I'm interested in what your opinion is, because I think there is divided opinion about it.
Yeah, so leaking your visitors and you moving them off your site, or you're leaking your SEO, or do you mean
both, actually. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about SEO, but
yeah, you can always test it. So from an SEO perspective, no, it's good to have it. From keeping people on your site, big businesses and businesses like Google and Facebook never want to push people away from their site. They want to keep them on their site as long as possible. Smaller businesses, people are going to want to go there to see reviews potentially and what people are saying, and it's still your property, so it's not going from your site to someone else's site. It's going to another one of your sites. So they're delving deeper. In my mind, if someone is clicking on those social links, they're interested in your site. It's better than them leaving the site. If you're concerned about that, or you need them, like say you're an e-commerce site and you really want to push them to a sale, then maybe it's not as good. So maybe that's where you're hearing differentiating opinions on that, because you want to drive them to a sale. If you're a service-based business and people want to research you a bit more, or your time to a sale from a lead is longer, then you keep them on your social sites, on your business sites, as long as it's you that they're looking at. I don't have an issue with that. I would test it. I'd put them on there and see how many people are actually going to those links by checking your analytics. I know that for my customers, they small service-based businesses. If you're looking for a removalist in Sydney, you're not going to go and click on their Facebook profile once you're on their site. You're just going to call the number and ask them how much it costs to move. And then you might look later on their Facebook or try and see reviews to see if they've got any bad reviews. But most people do that on the Google listing already. So not worth putting too much thought into it. If you're a really big business and you can really track all of these interactions, then you can start diving in deeper into that stuff. But a lot of small businesses get bogged down with all of the things that are possible and all of the opportunities and options, and you really just got to go after the big wins, and then as you get bigger you can focus on the smaller details later.
Yeah, I think it's quite overwhelming for people because there's so much noise in the market of you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do this. It's like, well,
and a lot of it's correct. It depends on the business that you're in and what your objective is as well. So you can really get bogged down in the details, whereas it's not necessary for most businesses.
Yeah, I like to think of the 80-20 approach. What's the
Yes,
20% I
exactly.
can do that yields the 80% of results?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. All right. So, any more?
Yeah, so that's your social stuff, and then, I mean, there's things that would be a little bit technical, but you don't have to know much about it, but you just want to know that your site's mobile friendly.
Yes, that's a
So
biggie.
yeah, so I'm not saying you can go and make it mobile friendly, but it would be better if it was mobile friendly and it loaded faster, and it may be worth investing in a company to update your site, or at the very least make a mobile version of your website, which you can do as well if it's not a responsive mobile friendly site. But most of your searches, if you're a small service-based business, are going to be on a mobile. And what you really want, and what Google really wants in the last few years, is for your site to look good on a mobile and to load quickly on a mobile. And that is going to affect your SEO, for your general SEO and your local SEO. It's also going to affect your local conversions from a customer's perspective. So that's something I would look at. Make sure it's mobile friendly. Make sure it's mobile optimized. If it's not, hire someone to kind of fix that up for you. Not a huge deal. I wouldn't go focus on that as your initial thing. Get all the other stuff out of the way and slowly chip away at these bigger things later down the line.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of. I'll leave that. We can go into that more if you want, though.
No, I just wanted to ask. I heard there was a rumor. Who knows if it's true? Maybe you can help verify this. But that Google was penalizing websites, and I mean penalizing in terms of rankings, for the websites that were not mobile optimized. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like a lot of people talk about Google penalizing you and penalties. They don't really penalize you as such, but they reward other sites.
Right.
So if there's a site that's mobile friendly and there's a site that's not mobile friendly, and you're both going after the same search term, they're going to reward the mobile friendly site above your site. So they're not going to penalize you in the sense that they're going to push you back, but they're going to reward your competitors. So you could see that as a penalty because you're moving down the rankings, but it's not really. It's just that they're rewarding other sites for doing the right thing. And that's where you want to just become in line with Google in terms of page speed and how fast your page loads and how easy it is to navigate, and that it's mobile friendly. So ultimately, for 2018, you want to start thinking about putting a bit of money into fixing up your site a bit.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's essentially your shop window. Your website is the only thing that a customer gets to see of you if they don't know who you are. And if it doesn't look good and it's not easy to navigate, then you're losing out on potential business. So it's worth putting money into that.
I couldn't agree more. Do you guys do much mobile web design stuff?
Yeah, so we do. We have in-house developers and designers, and we design and build websites. All of our websites are mobile and tablet friendly as well. We just do that because our customers end up asking us once they're going down the road and they're optimizing and they get to a point where maybe their site's letting them down. They ask us because they trust us to fix it up. So it's a function that we do. It's not the core part of our business, but yeah, it is something we do for customers.
So say a business has a new website they're happy with and it's not mobile friendly. Can you easily convert an existing website that the customer's happy with into a mobile responsive site?
Yeah, look, it's not always easy to do. I'd probably recommend doing it on WordPress. You can take the design, build it into a new WordPress theme that is mobile responsive and mobile friendly. The other thing you can do is just create a specific mobile design and build a site on a mobile URL that redirects to a mobile URL. That's what we used to do. And now with responsive sites, it's probably better practice to take that site and build it into a WordPress mobile responsive theme. Done well, it shouldn't. You can get it done for a few $1,000s. Some companies will do that for you. It all depends on how complicated your site is. But for a basic site, most web developers will be able to take your design and just build it on a mobile friendly platform.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is a no-brainer, I think, in 2018, as you say. It's all mobile, and I know for the local businesses that we do AdWords for, I mean, it's all mobile. Mobiles and phone calls,
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so moving on from that, I'd think about getting some backlinks. Any SEO company is going to talk to you at some point about backlinks.
Okay, so for the people who've never heard of what a backlink is...
Yeah, so again, it might be getting a little bit too technical, but let's just talk about it as other people linking to your site.
Yep.
So other websites that find you valuable in some capacity and are happy to put a link on their site, so your URL on their site that links to your site.
So the directories would be an example of that.
Exactly, that's a backlink. Exactly, the
Right.
directories are backlinks. Or let's say that you are a removalist and you've got a good relationship with a carpet cleaner, and each time you do a removal from someone leaving, they say to you personally, look, can you recommend a carpet cleaner because I need to get these carpets cleaned because I don't want to lose my bond. And you say, give a referral to a carpet cleaning company that you use, or you give them a business card. The same thing applies online. If you're that removalist online and you know that offline people are asking you for carpet cleaners, you might say on your website, if you're looking for a good carpet cleaner, try these guys, XYZ Carpet Cleaning, and put a link to their site. That's a backlink on the site, and you can do a deal with that carpet cleaner and say, look, I often refer you business because I trust you. Are you happy to put a link on your site that if someone's looking for a removalist company, they link back to me?
Yep, so it's reciprocal.
It's a reciprocal link. It's relevant. It makes sense. Google will like it. It'll help you. You're not trying to do anything dodgy or spammy. You're just referring businesses that you trust and that you know your customers may need on your website. So that's essentially a backlink, and you can speak to related businesses in your area. You can go to your local chamber of commerce and set up a listing with them, or speak to people there about linking to you. That's a really good opportunity to get a relevant backlink because you're a local business. You're going to your local chamber of commerce. You can register with their site, link to them, or when you go out and do networking, you can speak to businesses that are relevant to yours or related to yours and ask if they wouldn't mind putting a link. You could even write an article, so a local article, a blog post about a local event that's happening. I know in Bondi soon, there's this winter festival coming along. There's a whole load of businesses that would be related to that. I might write a blog on the local winter festival in Bondi. Let's say I'm a local restaurant there, and talk about the other local businesses and link to those businesses. And then I can ask them to link to me, or just say, are you happy to link to this article that I've mentioned you in promoting the winter festival? And you can all support each other. So it's not as difficult as people may think. You can pay for links, and there's a lot of businesses that get links for you. I mean, we're one of those businesses as well. You can get articles written or blogs written specifically for what you do. But think about getting some links to your website in general to promote the overall authority of your site, links to your contact page that has your map listing on it, and start thinking about links to local articles that you may be writing about local events that are happening. That's a really good way to get some local exposure, especially when there's an event or a festival happening in your suburb or town.
Would you say that each link is created equal, for lack of a better way of phrasing it? Or are there some worth more than others in terms
There are some worth more than others, and you're probably pushing me into a more technical area here.
Sorry.
But that's all right. It all depends on who's listening here and how much they know, but I'll keep it simple, go in a little bit deeper, and then bring it back a bit. But you can imagine that, let's say, I've got an analogy which most people understand. Let's say it's the Soccer World Cup at the moment as we're talking now.
Yep.
And let's say we're sitting around a table and we're discussing soccer. And at that table, we've got guys that are soccer players for their local league, people that don't play soccer or aren't really that interested in soccer, people that are soccer coaches. You might have a professional around the table as well. And you might have someone that's associated with FIFA sitting at that same table. So it's quite a mixed bag of people at that table. Now, I don't follow soccer myself, and I don't play soccer. But if I'm sitting at that table and I say, who do you think will win the World Cup? I'm going to probably weight the opinions of those people differently based on their experience with soccer. So the soccer coach, I'll probably give a little bit more respect to when he tells me who he thinks will win the World Cup. The person that works for FIFA, I'll probably give a bit more respect to. The professional soccer player, I'll probably give a bit more respect to. And then the soccer dad and the soccer mom sitting at the table, I'll give them a little bit of weight because they're involved in soccer, they watch soccer, they're enthusiastic, but probably not as much as the professional or the guys that are involved with FIFA. And it's the same online. Google knows that some sites have more authority than other sites. Some sites are visited by more people listen to or respect some sites than other sites, and they'll kind of weight that accordingly. So your local electrician might have, let's say, without getting technical, a Google ranking on Google where Google gives it a certain amount of authority. And then you might have a massive company that's global, or a global, I don't know, electrical company that has a lot more weight based on what Google thinks, how Google thinks it's relevant to the industry. So if you get a link from a news site, so a local newspaper, that's going to have a lot more weight than if you get a link from just a friend that has a blog, for example, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. That's a
Yeah.
really, really clever analogy. I like it.
Yeah, no worries. All good.
So, yeah, so I guess you're never really done in that respect in terms of trying
Yeah.
to acquire backlinks. That's
Yeah.
where, yeah.
And if you can think, try and go for the easy ones first, so your smaller mates and other businesses, and then maybe start going after the local newspapers and maybe write an article and call them up and say, look, there's this event happening. I'm a local business, so you're going to be writing a local article about this event. Would you mention my business, or would you mind mentioning my business? Or maybe even going and just reading it, seeing what local newspapers are writing about and where they are mentioning other businesses, and then contacting them to find out how you can get listed. And it's not as difficult as it seems. And once you're listed or linked in an article on one paper, it's then easier to use that to maybe write an article or get an interview for another paper. A great way to do it is an interview about something that's unique or special about your business. But local papers are always looking for local businesses or local stories. If you've got a cool local story that you can write up, or something that's different about you or how your business started, or something that's interesting, then you can start getting listed or think about speaking to the local papers and start getting links like that. Again, being in that paper is going to get you exposure in and of itself. Having the link is going to push your local listing. So it's good to start thinking like that as a local business.
Awesome. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's all, once you start in that local mindset and speaking to people locally, networking locally, setting up your businesses online, it's a big mix of online and offline stuff. You just want to connect those dots. So if you've done something offline, it's also connected online. So if you do an interview for a local newspaper and they write up the article, ask them to link back to your website. There's so many businesses out there that have got articles written about them in major newspapers that haven't got a link back to their site because they never thought about it.
It's a criminal offence, isn't it?
It is criminal. It is. It's a big deal online. And then reviews would be probably the next thing.
Oh, wow.
You want those reviews.
Reviews are a biggie. So you're talking about Google reviews?
All reviews, but specifically with regards to your local listings, yes, Google reviews. So you've set up your Google My Business listing, you've put in your great pictures, maybe a video. If you've got video, that'd be great. You've done your name, address, and phone number, and now it's just sitting there, but no one's written anything. And the reviews are going to be about 13% of your overall SEO local strategy. So it does have weight. Yeah, it does have a lot of weight. Again, it's not the be-all and end-all, and if you have 100 reviews and someone else has 50, they might still rank above you, even if they have 5, because they've done other things better. But it is important. It not only gives credibility to your business, but it's going to help your ranking. And the stats say that 70% of people will write a review if you just ask them. So if you've done a good job for someone, shoot them an email or give them a call and say, here's a link to my business listing. Please can you write a positive review for me? And more often than not, they will if you just ask.
That was going to be my question, is how does a business get those reviews? And as you say, sometimes it's really as simple as just asking, like, hey,
just
would
ask.
you mind?
Put it on your invoices when you send out invoices. Put it in your email signature. Leave me a review with a link to your listing. To get that link to your listing, just go to your Google Business listing, click on Write a Review. That URL will pop up on your screen. Copy that URL, and you can paste that into any link anywhere on your email signature, in an email to a friend. Even via your phone, you can SMS it, so you can do an SMS campaign and send out a bunch of messages.
And I think the timing of when you ask for that review is also pretty critical. Like, I think I heard of one business who had an iPad set up at the reception of their business, so that when people just walked out of, I think it was a dental surgery, I can't remember what kind of business, but they've just walked out, they're feeling really good, they're probably relieved that their dental experience is over. And there's an iPad just sitting there going, hey, if you want to leave us a review, you just go here.
Yeah, that's great. Making it easy is definitely key to that. So, if it is a physical place, a massage or a dental, or somewhere where you go to them for their services, having something there to make it easy is perfect. And again, just ask your customers, and they'll do it for you. You don't have to go crazy about it, but just start getting reviews, and people do. They respect those reviews, and they are going to start looking for them. Get those reviews on Facebook as well, or if you're on True Local, push for True Local as well.
Would you say that the True Local or the Facebook reviews are better than the Google reviews? I guess, like, as a business owner, if you had to choose which review platform you wanted your customers to leave reviews on, which would you choose?
For me, I would choose Google because that's where the search is appearing. So I do everything based on search. If I'm getting most of my business through Google search, then I want my Google reviews to have the most reviews because that's on your business listing. They're all important. If you're a business where customers go to leave feedback or complaints on Facebook or something like that, then you want to push your Facebook reviews. And it is difficult because it's hard to get the same person to leave multiple reviews. So depending on where you think you're going to have the most people looking at your business, that's where you're going to want to get the reviews. And you may ask different people to leave reviews in different places. If people are engaging with you on Facebook, then while you're on Facebook, you can say, if you had a good experience or you're happy with the service, please go in and leave us a review. Like now, if you're using Facebook Messenger, if they found you through Google or they've interacted with you from a Google search, then ask them to leave a review on Google Business. Yeah.
Awesome. Reviews are a big deal. So, and I
Yeah.
think more and more they just, we live in a social world where the ultimate social proof is, a review, really.
Yeah, I mean, reviews are your testimonials, and that's what builds customer confidence. And more people are realizing that these reviews are actually real. They're not fake. In the past, it was like, oh, you've just got 10 of your mates or whatever to leave a review. Now people can tell that they're real, and there's so many that it's valuable. Yeah.
Awesome. So that is a lot of really actionable items
Yeah.
and tasks that people can do. Did we cover it all, or is there more?
Yeah, I mean those are the basics that I think is enough for people to do.
Yep.
To go in a bit deeper, you can also start thinking about, and I mentioned this previously, but it's just one more point on it, is to kind of produce content that includes local information and local news on your site, whether that's blogs or events that are happening. It's really good for local SEO. And it's good for your business in general. So start thinking about blog articles or writing a blog if you don't have a blog, and start thinking about local events in your area and actually blogging about those things so that you establish a local reputation. And that's another way to incorporate keywords into your site as well. You can use those local-based keywords in these blogs about local events. And that'll also help you then get in with some of the local news organizations and things like that. So that kind of ties it all together. So don't forget about content. Content is king. Everyone always says that. It's very big for SEO. It's big for local SEO. And it's becoming more and more important.
How often would you say that someone would have to write content or blog content?
So for me, it's more about consistency. Most people don't have the time to do it. So I'd say start with once a month, but always do it once a month. If you are
and you could really do it in batch. You could write 12 articles and then...
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I was going to say if you're a good writer or you're happy to sit down for a day or 2 days and write, 10 blogs, write them all out and preload them if you've got WordPress, or just hold on to them. You can preload them. You can schedule them to go out during whenever you want, and then get it done. You could even get a writer or hire someone. We've got a blogging service for our customers as well. Hire someone to just smash them all out for you. So you've got that monthly blog sorted. And then when you're feeling particularly creative, or there's a local event or something that's happening in your area, then you can write an extra blog that month about that event. That's the way I would recommend it. Otherwise, it becomes too overwhelming.
And you're always kind of feeling like you've got something that you have to do rather than just...
Yeah, just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and about 500 words to 1,000 would be good if you could do that.
And I'm sure incorporating an image as well in their blog post.
Yep, if you're going to get into blogging, have a nice image. People love image. You're going to want some internal links linking to other blogs on your site or other pages on your site. Some external links referring to people that you might be talking to, other companies, news agencies, or other relevant businesses or organizations. Yeah, I'm going to be blogging.
Awesome. Well, I think anyone listening to this episode is going to have a full to-do list if they haven't done any of this stuff before. Great tips. Thank you so much for sharing them. And thank you for coming on today's show. Where can people find out a bit more information about you and the services that you provide?
So on me specifically, you can Google my name, Doron Milner. There's a bunch of stuff there. Some of it's relevant to what I do professionally. Some of it's more relevant to just what I do in life. My business is Local Web. So you can Google Local Web or Local SEO Services or Local SEO Sydney and I'll show up. And on our site, on our local website, we have a blog that also gives you a lot of tips on how to do this. So how to blog for SEO purposes, how to fix up your on-page SEO, how to do your local SEO. So we've got a blog on that can find out more about us and what we do, and also how to do stuff for yourself. We're very open about sharing. All of us at Local Web want to make it easy for people to do a lot of the stuff themselves. It helps us when you're optimizing sites. Yeah, I'm
sure what you do could also be applied, like you're in Australia, to someone in a local suburb in America, let's say.
Yeah, so I mean, funny enough, we started just with local businesses in our suburb and then city, but we do have customers overseas, even though our business is called Local Web, but yes, they're local customers. So it's not necessarily about us only servicing local people, but about servicing people that have a local business. So this can be applied anywhere in the States, in London. We've got customers in Bali and Indonesia. They all apply the same principles and attract local business.
Awesome. So localweb.com.au, isn't it? Or is it .com?
That's the one. That's us. Yeah, localweb.com.au. Yeah,
awesome.
And we do help people all over the world. So if you don't feel that you can't reach out, and happy to give free advice as well. We're going to start a video blog, a vlog soon, and we'll send that out as well. So if there's a link in this podcast to us, then just jump on and you can sign up, and we'll send you details.
There will definitely be a link to your website. So if you can check out the show notes for today's episode to find out the URL.
Awesome.
Doron, thank you so much for coming on. Been a amazing source of local SEO knowledge. I've definitely taken a lot of notes and learnt lots of things. So thanks for taking the time out of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
No problems. Thanks so much for having me, and I've really enjoyed it. Sorry if I've sounded a bit sniffly.
It's winter in Sydney, so you are excused.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.